forget or move on. Yes. Yeah, that was literally like the last song I heard before I decided to go live. You know, it was just on the radio. So it was on my mind, so I got on here singing to y'all. You know what it is? You know what it is. What's happening, everybody? Happy weekend. I hope it's a happy weekend for you. Boy, I tell you, it's been a wild ride for me already. But it's all good. We working every day. We got to do what we got to do. That's why I go live every day that I can, building my net worth for ONYXCON, okay? For the 501c3 nonprofit arts and creative lifestyle organization that you are here to witness, this here platform. You know what I'm saying? I got to build the worth of this thing. I got to get this monetization of what we here to do, what we're going to do regardless, so we may as well get paid properly for it. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now, like the video right now, show your love right now, and while you're at it, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you can be first to know whenever we drop new stuff, okay? Because we're going to let you know about it. We're going to let you know, and we're going to keep you informed. We got a new video that just went up yesterday. I want to make sure y'all are aware of that. It is for the Netflix original film Rebel Ridge, starring Aaron Pierre. That is an absolute classic so far. It is making major noise. It was #1 for a time. Now it's #2, but come on, that's heavy on Netflix. It's still making a lot of noise. Like I say, I'm talking about Rebel Ridge is out. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are making a lot of hype about it. And I kept seeing it. I said, you know, okay, all right, let me give this a chance. I got Netflix back in my life. For a while, I didn't have a subscription because we couldn't afford it. But I messed around and got a new plan for my bundle. You know how they do you with all the different Wi-Fi and the channel bundles and all that good stuff. So I was really just trying to keep my Peacock flowing because I love Peacock, so I can watch Fight Night. Great show if you haven't seen that. And also that just reminds me, I still need to do an official review of Fight Night. I'll probably wait till it's over because I think it's at episode 5 or something like that. Really good show, really good show. Being from Atlanta, I see so much about Atlanta, and they did such a great job of making it look and be the 70s that it was when this actual event happened, because it's based on a real situation. But if you haven't seen Fight Night, check it out. It's about a actual incident that happened in Atlanta in the 70s, wherein a bunch of top black gangsters from all over the country convened in Atlanta for after the fight party for a Muhammad Ali fight that took place in Atlanta. And to celebrate the fight, they had a kind of a casino at a house they set up. So it was, you know, it was off the grid. It wasn't supposed to be happening, but they did what they were doing. And the place got robbed. Some other gangsters heard about it. Some local yokel folk thought they was gonna try and play tough with some real heads, and it ended up costing them all their life, like literally. Like, so the show is about the investigation of it shows the incident, and then it breaks down the investigation of how they came to trying to make justice out of a very ugly situation. So it's a good show. It's on Peacock. Like I said, I still got to do a review of it, but I'm probably going to wait till it's actually over to talk about it, because I want to be... What the... Squirrels be out here shaking and baking, trying to break an ankle like they on the basketball court. Like, everybody thinking about you if you don't get on across the street. Damn. Anyway. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. We deal with it, don't we? Don't we deal with it, I swear. Anyway, I was saying we got these different reviews coming up, but also one that I just dropped, did one for Rebel Ridge on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, great film starring Aaron Pierre. I even talked from the perspective of what you can expect here at ONYXCON. We got one of our elements, one of our shows I call The Business. You could actually make that review part of the business, but also part of what we call the ONYXCON Film Festival, where we talk about anything related to film, documentaries, etc. And so, but I never got a chance to meet the main man, the actor himself, but I was able to acquire a job of being the fit double for his role on MLK that was on National Geographic Channel. So what that means, a fit double, is when the actor is too busy to come to a specific location where a wardrobe department has them fit every single outfit that they're going to wear on the show, they'll find somebody in the registry of talent that they have with one of the local agencies that handles background or doubles, stand-ins, all those other roles, which I've done everything I'm talking about. And so I was chosen to do fit double. So I wore all of the outfits in a photo session to see that they were fitted, tailored them to my physique, which the actor himself is a little bit more buff than me. I mean, definitely more muscular and everything, bigger dude, but we're about the same height and similar body structure, you know what I'm saying? So I had the honor of doing that. And it was really cool because I put on a lot of, it was the first time in my life I ever put on a zoot suit, and it was fitted so nice. Like, they were still doing the tailoring when they fitted it to me. And you'll see a picture of that in the video. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out. It's real fun and interesting. And if you're interested in being in the film business or just curious about what goes on behind the scenes and how things come together when you're looking at the long, ever-going scroll of names that come up at the end of a movie, trust me, when you watch my content here at ONYXCON talking about the film business, you'll understand a little bit of that even better and better, more and more, okay? So anyway, like I say, we did a review of that. I'm very proud to have done one for that because I think it's a great film. It deserves to be one of the top films in Netflix history. And it left off in a way, I'm not gonna give anything away, but I'll just say, I could see it being more. I could see more coming out of it. Like, you know, they could do some kind of follow-up story or something, and that's not really giving it away in any way. But it's yeah, you'll see what I mean when you watch it. It's a good movie. Good movie. If you haven't seen it, like I say, check that out. So, what I really wanted to talk to y'all about, sometimes, you know, when I go live, this is therapeutic for me, for a lot of the challenges that one encounters in the art life. And hey, I can't afford therapy, so I can afford to just talk to my global audience. And for those who are subscribers, they can talk back and share wisdom if they got any to share, because that's all we're looking for. We're not here for the nonsense. But I wanted to share a cloaked story, because I'm not gonna, it's not about dropping names or specifics. It's about this situation could be something that would apply to anybody, quite frankly, who's ever done contractual work for hire, okay? But I specifically want to address the issue I find common with two different mind states. And I was going to get real historic and start labeling different groups of people as being the culprit and how all of this developed. But if you know anything about real history, honest, true history, okay? Right, not fabricated history, people playing with the elements and trying to make it bend to their story and make their people look like heroes all the time when they weren't, or always right when they weren't, or whatever, then you'll still know what I'm getting at, okay? But I want to talk about contractual agreements and the concept of having a contract to begin with, okay? Because I went through something recently with a friend, and I'll still call him a friend, irregardless of the fact we may have, for all I know, we could have literally fell out over this thing. Like, I may never hear from them again. Maybe I will, who knows, I don't know. But it really didn't end well, and it was all because of the way some people look at business and don't understand certain things about contracts that need to be and must be understood in certain societies. Now, I want to make it clear, since I know I got a global audience, I'm speaking specifically of what I know as a working artist in America, okay? I'm talking about America, and even more specifically in the city of Atlanta, state of Georgia, and how that applies. But also, this pretty much is more universal to just the entire United States of America and how contractual agreements work for intellectual property. Now, intellectual property, or IP, as you will see it written in a lot of contracts and things, applies to any and all creative output of any creative person, including what I'm doing right now. Content on a social media platform is an artistic endeavor, and therefore can be considered intellectual property, all right? When you sign up to have a page on YouTube, you give certain leeway to all types of legal stuff that most of us, including myself, don't ever read completely. Like, whenever I get to the point where I'm signing up for an app, that long page with all that legalese, and it's usually got the white background with the black hardcore type. It don't matter what color it is, I'm just saying how it typically looks. But I'm saying it has got that long scroll of a lot of terminology that most people don't understand, don't really know what they're signing their life away to or what they're really agreeing to. They're just saying, hurry up and get me on the thing. I just want to use the app. I don't even want to have to worry about what the consequences are for possibly agreeing to something that I don't really agree with. You know, that's how a lot of us function through our entire life when it comes to legal stuff. Because, you know, and this is where I would have gotten historic, but I'll just say the history of long, convoluted scribes, you know, scrolls of information dictating what can and cannot be done in a legal sense and what is expected of all parties involved from this day forward to the end of time and infinity, infinitum, and into all known galaxies. And, you know, like that's where the contracts start reading nowadays in our era. We got to start talking about in known galaxies and stuff, because they literally are saying to you, with space exploration at an all-time new technological high, there will come a day where, oh, there may be a colony actually built on Mars if it ain't already built, and they'll be selling properties for people to actually live in some bubble of, you know, fabricated existence on Mars and other planets and moons and all kind of stuff, right? So it's possible. This stuff is actually possible. Hold tight, y'all. I'll be right back, y'all. Whew. All right, y'all. So as I was saying, appreciate y'all patience. As I say every time I do this, when I go live and I gotta do this, hey, you gotta fit it in where you can fit it in. I just say I refuse to stop my mission just because I gotta do what I gotta do and wear these other hats like courier work to get to the crowns I was meant to wear. I already got some crowns, but I'm stacking my crowns and I got more to win. You know what I mean? I got more to put on, more jewels to embellish my crown. You feel me? And in this lifetime, I'm gonna get it. I'm guaranteed. That's just what it is. So I appreciate you for appreciating me and staying here and liking this video, because every time y'all do that, every time y'all stick around and watch to the end, it's literally monetization. And you're a part of what I call my monetization nation. Okay? You know what I'm saying? My next residents, see, you notice how I made that plural, right? Will be because of the houses that impartial, because they're gonna be also the work that I do, other work I do, and work I do for ONYXCON, because it's gonna be my studio always to do ONYXCON content wherever I reside. It will be because of this endeavor, this venture, this goal, this nonprofit's mission. You feel me? And I hope to give other people inspiration to live their best creative lifestyle, because that's what we're here for, you know? For those who appreciate the arts and for all my artists in the struggle, because it's real out here. So getting back to that and how real it is, I was talking about contractual agreements and how developed, and without getting all specific, because I don't want to have to prove that I know, you know, so I'm not the person who remembers dates per se. I remember eras, and even with that, you know, to prove to an audience, it's like, well, we'll check your facts. You can go check the facts on your own. I'm gonna give you some bold, basic statements, and if you want to make sure that I'm speaking some truth, it will entice you to go do it for yourself and become an expert on the topic if you're serious about knowing. Now, if you just want to be combative and I don't think this guy knows what he's talking about, well, this ain't even for you. I'm talking about the kind of person who's intelligent enough to understand, oh, okay, yeah, I know what he means with that, and okay, I'll just look up the rest of that. But, you know, it's going to an introduction, an orientation in some of these topics, and the rest of them can be looked up on your own time. But basically, in the history of contracts as we know them in America, a lot of what has become the standard that we know of, the fine print, which, you know, doesn't have to be that way. It's a standard on purpose, because it's meant to be a lot said that most people will not understand and will just simply sign off on it to then come back and haunt them, because it's favoring whoever wrote it most of the time to their will, to whatever they want to get out of the situation, right? So because of that, and because of the how that is just almost in some ways the antithesis of how artists think. We are free-minded. We tend to we want to trust people who say they love our art, who want to utilize our skills and either buying our art or having our art be a representation or illustration, whatever the case may be, of their vision for their companies, their endeavors, their ventures. And they often need us. People who are not creatives in that way will often need us. But the problem historically is only a few people who need artists understand what artists are really worth. And I value that, so that when an artist sets their price, they don't combat it, they don't debate it. There's no, it's either you got it or you don't. It's like recently, to give a brief example, the legend, I mean, absolute freaking legend, Mr. Marlon Wayans, the comedic legend, the writer, the producer, I think he's even directed. I mean, he definitely produced, he got more writing credits than most people know he's gotten, but Marlon took offense to Vlad, who runs the Vlad show where he does the chats where you don't see him on camera, but you hear his voice and the person is answering his questions and stuff. If you ever watch Vlad TV, he wanted Marlon on his show, and Marlon gave him his fee for appearing for an interview. And he felt the cost was too high. Like, who are you? You're not even who you used to be. You're not as famous who you. This is what, this is quote unquote, not really a quote, but loosely quoting what he responded to Marlon. And Marlon stood his ground, like, no, I'm not going on your show. First of all, you've disrespected my legacy. I am a legend. And what's ironic is right after this controversy, he showed up on Club Shay Shay and the Sharp Show, which, if anybody knows anything about podcasts nowadays, that's the biggest podcast on YouTube and probably in the world in terms of notoriety, after following especially the episode with Cat Williams and how big of a, big hoopla that was because of all the, tell on everybody from his perspective that Cat did. And it blew up, 50 million plus strong, probably way more than that. It may have doubled that by now. I don't even know what the number is right now, but it's crazy, right? For how many people have watched that. And so, that's just, like I said, that's just a brief example of the kind of stuff that people do when they disrespect somebody's credits and their ability and what they are, and try to pretend they're not the legends they are. So I got a big problem with that. And as an artist, the sad thing is that, like I said, it's not really us to have to deal with that kind of stuff. But if you're smart, and here's, I love this word, it would behoove you. It would behoove you to know something about legal ramifications of people utilizing your creative skills and taking for granted your creative skills, or not valuing you at your price and things of that nature, right? So that's one level of it, people not valuing you at your price. Now, the other side of it that I've run into that can be frustrating, and I know a lot of creatives might relate to also, is when you might have someone that wants to work with you on something, and they value your price, they want to pay you your price, but they just simply can't. Now, the only time that ever comes into view where you generally will take time to hear that out and work with a person is when they're friends or family. That's usually the way that goes. And if anybody knows how that goes, like, I'll never forget, if anybody knows how that goes, that can get ugly. I'll never forget, I went to a conference for artists once, and we had some, a matter of fact, I've done so much, sometimes I forget if it was my own event. It's been an ONYXCON event, okay? Because we've had so many incredible artists as guests who've done panels for us and lectures and all types of stuff. But one of my good friends, and it's not important to name who it was or whatever, because I'm not gonna try and quote them directly or anything like that. I just remember more or less what they said. And they were talking about this very topic. And they said, let me tell you something. When it comes to family and friends, I just don't ever try to, I just say, hey, how much can you pay me? I'll take whatever you can give me, because I know other than that, it ain't gonna be right. It's never gonna be, if I tell you a price, it's gonna be too high. If you tell me a price, it's gonna be too low. Or if I set a price, it's gonna be cutting myself too low, he said. So you just tell me what you can pay, and whatever it is, if I'm willing to do it, then that's all it was. I settled on that. I know my work is worth more, but I'm gonna take what I can get, only because I'm doing my family a favor or my friend a favor. It's that simple, right? More in a minute. All right, y'all. We back in the captain's seat. We back in the captain's seat. So as I was saying, You know, when it comes to family and friends, unfortunately, that's like some of the toughest work and contractual agreements you could ever attempt to make. And most of the time, in my experience, I'm talking about since I probably wrote my first contracts for something I was doing as an illustrator, as an artist, when I was in middle school. And in most cases back then, my dad would have drafted it up for me with all of the proper legal terms and everything, and I would have looked over it and been confused about what it said and asked a whole bunch of questions to get understand it. And then once I kind of understood, I said, okay, cool, I'll sign this and hopefully they'll sign this. And in a few cases, people did sign stuff. And to this day, that still stands as an understanding. Like, for instance, you know, if I did something that was a cover to a special program I did, and then I'm thinking of stuff that I actually did as I say this. And some of it for major things. I mean, you know, I have a very, very impressive career as a visual artist. I did a lot of drawing and painting, and some of my paintings and drawings were actually featured in many ways. And one of the ways, like I say, was like covers for major symposiums and programs. I'm talking about at college universities. There was ones I did. There was ones I did when I was in high school for high school programs, all kind of stuff like that. And, you know, when you've done work like that and you understand, you understand how art works, you know, you spend a lifetime now in my late 40s understanding the history of how contractual agreements have been for artists, and how, yeah, at one time in this country, there were no agreements per se. Everything was a handshake culture. Everything was, you know, you're a woman, your honor is everything. You shake on it, that's it. It's blood honor. You know, you may have cut your hand and put your hands together, or you may have spit on it and did all that old stuff from the old school, and a bunch of other ways people did it before there was paper contract. And then there was also paper contracts, because even for everybody who was spitting on hands and cutting hands and all that type of thing, respectfully, while that did hold its own kind of weight, and your word was your bond in certain cultures, that slowly dissipated because other folks who had other agendas and put everything in writing on paper created the systems that, both fortunate and unfortunate, notice how I'm saying this, both fortunate and unfortunate, have led to what we know today. Because on the unfortunate side of it, a lot of people lost land, lost natural, civil privileges to what they deserve to make a life for themselves, to do what they need to do for their families, to have proper health and food, and every living, as they say, you know, quality of living. A lot of people lost that because of shady contracts and stuff of that nature, right? So there's no surprise when I come across fellow artists who are disgruntled about even the idea of contracts, or don't want to sign contracts, or don't want to deal with any type of contractual written agreement. But what has always amused me time and time again, for people who I've run across who are like that, every single time that happened, I would witness it from people who I know have signed other people's contracts with no rejection, with no rebuttal, with no nothing, just whatever that. Like I said, most of us, when it comes to big companies that you buy a car, you sign up for an apartment, you get a lease that's 10, 12 pages long. You know, if you're anything like me for where you live, I read about 75% of my lease. And whatever I didn't read, I read what was most important to know what the rest of it more than likely said. Because I wasn't about to sign nothing where I'm laying my head and don't know a little bit of what my rights ought to be and everything. You know, just some basics, just for general comfort of what the hell I'm about to be dealing with, you know, and what my rights are supposed to be, you know. If you're in America, you know how stuff can be sometimes. There's so much hypocrisy. People say you got rights, and then you find out later you ain't got no damn rights on a lot of things. As soon as when it gets real, it's like having insurance. You paying on it, and when it's time to use it, suddenly they ain't got no money for you, or they give you every reason why that was an act of God, an act of nature, and we can't pay out on it. Stuff like that. All kind of shady, stupid stuff, right? So that's the kind of nonsense we deal with when it comes to those bigger corporate type situations. But when you're dealing with friends, family, or just people you barely know, but you have a good rapport with, and y'all made some kind of connection, even as maybe fellow creatives or whatever it may be. A lot of times people just throw all caution to the wind and try to go back to some of that. Let's spit on the hand and shake. Let's cut our hands and do a blood oath, or so they want to go into all of that. And sadly, from what I've seen with people, I'm talking about people I know who they did that, and it all backfired on them. It always came back to haunt them somehow for how that's not the best way to do it. It's just not the best way to do it. And I have a philosophy too that when it comes to business, I mean, everybody has their numbers, so to speak, of what certain things are worth to them, or when things need to be on paper versus not. Somebody give you gas money because you picked them up and you took them for a ride. Hey man, let me give you a little money. This gas is high. I know it is. So here's a little something. Here's $20. You gave them an hour-long ride and they gave you $20. But that's a friend or family. It's not like a Lyft or an Uber ride. You literally picked up a friend or family. It wasn't even expected, but they give you a little cash. All right, that's one. That might be one level. But then there's, hey man, I'm starting this business and I'd like for you to do the official logo for it. Okay, tell me more. Well, I want it to look like this, that, and that, and I want this, that, and this. Well, there's a lot of details there. Okay, well, I'm a professional artist. Yeah, man, that's why I came to you. I want it done right, man. I want to be professional. I want my stuff to look amazing, and I'm gonna turn this into all kind of stuff. I'm gonna have T-shirts. I'm gonna put it on a billboard. I'm gonna have it on all my all my invoices, and it's gonna be on my website. Okay, I hear you. Where? So, okay, well, a logo as an identity, I often would go back, whenever people come to me with that one, I always go back and reference, there's a book I have, and they still make this book. It's the internet, I think it's if I remember right, it's the International Guild of Graphic Designers and Illustrators. I know it's the Guild of Graphic Designers and Illustrators. I forget if it's international or national, but they put out a book annually that I'm pretty sure they still do. I bought this book back in like somewhere in the 20 teens. The prices that were in that book at that time not only would still apply to most of the jobs that it lists and how artists should be compensated fairly for the work they're doing in a competitive market, because the whole book just gives you base prices. It describes the type of jobs that most people come up with when they want different things done, and it gives you the technical terms, so there's no way to misconstrue what the hell it is. It'll be specific as all hell. It'll be like, this graphic design image will be used for billboards, for print in a major publication versus a small press publication. It's got the different price list for each type of situation, right? And I love that book, because anytime I've ever had a conflict with friends, family, associates that I just knew who wanted me to do something, and I told them what it was actually worth, and then I gave them my price based on our friendship, and if they still had a problem with it, that's when I knew right then and there, we just need to hang up the phone. Depending on how tight the relationship is, we either need to never speak again or not speak for a while, because you must have bumped your damn head not knowing what this is worth, as I've just told you what it's worth, right? So that's one of the other types of situations that is often a problem. Now, the last one I'm gonna give you, the last scenario, similar to this one, is a situation wherein both people, you're in need, they're in need, which is pretty much all the time. That's always the case with creatives trying to survive, right? And they want to utilize your skills for something, and you tell them what it generally, maybe you didn't even get into what it generally costs. Let's just give us a full example so you can imagine what I'm saying here. But say you end up in a scenario where you want to look out for them because they're a friend, like I say, and you want to make sure that whatever you tell them, you just tell them, look, we're going to do that option of it. You tell me what you can afford. And based on that, I know how much I'm going to be able to do with the resources I have, because I can't stretch myself beyond my resources and still give you a stellar product, right? A creation, which is what you need. So they give you their price, what they can give, and you say, all right, fair enough. Now, as you continue to talk about it and say, well, I'm going to put up a contract or something, then they get, oh boy, wait a minute, I don't really want to do contracts. I don't really want to do, okay. So say you say, well, maybe it won't be a contract, but we need to have an understanding. So you have a verbal understanding. Everybody sleeps on it. And sleeping on it, you wake up realizing, nah, don't sit right with me not to tell them what I know could be a thing to consider with this. We need to make sure we both have something on record to say that this even happened. Not because I don't trust the person, not because they don't trust me, but because it should be well understood in today's society in 2024. If you do something creative, an IP, an intellectual piece of intellectual property, should always, this is the law of art life, when it comes to dealing with anybody who is, whether, it's just to some level, you need to have a paper trail to say, well, we did actually agree on something, and you did actually do some work for me, and I did actually receive something from you. And why? Why? Because once it is used, okay, in the public sphere, for whatever it's being used for in promotion, okay, to make sales, to whatever, whether you get royalties off that as the artist or not. The one thing I know about companies that are huge, because here's the thing, I'm speaking to y'all right now on what? YouTube. If YouTube is a privately held company. YouTube is not on the stock market. That's what that means. It's not a company you can buy stock in. Technically, the way we all as YouTubers have channels, we are the stock. That's the way they make that money and are able to survive, I'm pretty sure. It's because, in essence, because they do have advertisers, which is why we're all striving to get subscribers and watch hours and all this so that we can get on AdSense, the program they have that allows you to get monetized for the ads they put on your content regardless, whether you're making a dime or not. Once you cross the threshold of the parameters they set as a private owned company, they can set their own rules. Okay, they have their board of executives and everybody, but whatever those people come up with, not us who, they ask us every now and then what we think. But at the end of the day, they're going to make a decision for all of us, whether we agree with it or not. If we choose to stay on the platform, we got to adhere to these rules. We got to understand there are limits. We got to understand there are boundaries. We got to understand they can do whatever they want to do with their entity. This is their baby. All right, y'all. So basically, so you have a situation, like I say, where you've set up an agreement, but you're dealing with a friend who doesn't fully understand what can happen legally when a company, like I was giving the example of YouTube, but it could go with you could pretty much apply this to anything that is considered social media, for an example, right? Or any company, but especially right now with social media stuff. Say you do a lot of content and you do a lot of images for their friends' content, whatever. And the way the contract is set up, the way the content is set up, they're gonna get paid constantly for images you provided. No problem, you wanna help them, they're gonna pay you a one-time fee, right? In the best case scenario, it could be you get this much, I get this much percentage rate. But a lot of people don't want to have to do that, especially when there's the risk involved of what if I don't make any profit at all? If I put this out here and no one even watches it, no one cares, no one was looking for whatever I did, I just paid this artist and I don't even get no money out of this. Well, that's the sacrifice you do with any purchase to do business. If you buy a camera and you take a bunch of pictures because you want to be selling your images as a photographer, you can't go back to Canon or Nikon and say, well, I didn't make no money, so I think y'all should have just been in percentage with me since day one because I didn't make no money. I think I ought to get my money back or something. You can't get that, right? So that's where that thought comes from. But the reality is, the difference is, whatever you create, it's not like the camera. The camera will die eventually. The tool will die. It will get old. Even if you keep fixing it, it will get to a point it does not work. The one thing about art, one thing about a creation, the one thing about a vision, the one thing about a creative expression is forever. It is forever. That's a fact. What that invokes is universal energy. It's timeless. It literally is timeless. If every famous painting that's sitting in a museum somewhere, you know, unfortunately burned down or something, right? Anyone who has seen those paintings, who has experienced those paintings up close in the same room, even from looking at them as a print in a book or something, the impression of it, the effect of it, the impact of it is forever. So that is why the art has a value to it no matter what, and it's a timeless type of value. What was only worth, you know, if you bought a comic book, speak of timeless values of visual art, specifically sequential art, for 75 cents in the 1970s. Same book now, depending on what that book is, might be worth $10,000. And should the artists and the writers who did that book not be compensated for their vision, making that possible? When the show I was on the show Black Lightning. Black Lightning was created for DC Comics by Trevor Von Eden and Tony Isabella. I have met both these gentlemen. Had the pleasure of meeting both of them. They're both phenomenal artists as writers and illustrators. And if not for both of them, the Black Lightning would not exist, nor would the show. And the ability for me and countless other people to have had a job, no matter how small or whatever the job was on that show, we were there. We were there. We were there. And that show, whether it lasted 5 seasons only or not, will last forever. Because the funny thing about stuff we know, shows can come back. One of my favorite shows from the 80s, V, the alien show V, about the alien visitors. That's what V was for, visitors. And they were reptilians, and they were secretly here to, it was like a Trojan horse type story. They were here to actually eat people. They wanted to make humanity their easy prey. And some people fell for it and other folks didn't, and there were rebellions against them and all this incredible concept. I loved V. That was one of my favorite shows of the 80s. It came back in the early 2000s. Didn't last, and I don't know why, because I thought the new version of it was just as good in its own way as the first. It was nothing could ever be the 80s when it was nostalgia, but it was a beautiful show. I thought it was great. You know, my man Morris Chestnut was a leading man on the show. I forget the lady who played the head of the reptilian aliens, but she was sexy with her little pixie cut, and, you know, she just looked good. And she was, you know, it was obvious why she was the headliner of the show and everything. She had good energy as an actress and all that. Great show, right? Didn't last. But here's the thing, the concept still lasts. And even I bet you, as I said it, if y'all are fans of V, you got excited with me. You thought, man, if they would only bring that show back. I think about it a lot. I say that and so many other shows, I wish they would have a comeback. They deserve a comeback. And guess what? With the right money, the right timing, the right producers, the right climate in Hollywood, it will. It may not even come back in my lifetime, but it could come back later. You know what I'm saying? Once I become a centenarian and I say, okay, enough, I made my 100+ years, okay, I'll leave y'all. I mean, you know, in whatever year I would be 110. That's wishful thinking, right? But who knows? I'm just saying, they could bring it back. They could say, yeah, it's time for V to come back. Won't nobody even know what it is. They do this time and time again because concepts, art, true art, the inspirations for art are timeless in any type of art. So to me, it's a complete disservice to artists when, in an effort to protect our work, we try to create in this time, in this era where we understand, I may not like all this contractual, wordy, legalese-based stuff, but say you try to create something for a friend that's not as heavy on the legalese, but it still more or less comes from that way of thought to just make sure you got something on paper between y'all to say, yo, we did work. I did work for you. if this ever grows into more, you won't leave me hanging. I won't be sleeping under a bridge somewhere homeless because everybody I know didn't ever want to take the time to pay me what I was worth, or everybody from a bigger company standpoint didn't just get over on me. I actually have a couple of things that did pay off. A couple of things where people did see my value and my creative brilliance and didn't take it for granted. Didn't try to, water me down and make me feel like they were doing me a favor to give me not my full price, but whatever they could give me at the time. And I accepted it with the intention of, that's fine for now, but there will possibly, keyword possibly, be a later. And if there is a later that involves things costing far more and things and the value of what I did being worth far more, well, hell, I want my worth. I deserve it. And if you've been involved, you deserve it too. We both deserve something in this. This should never be an attitude of not understanding that. And I know why there can be, because again, a lot of people do not truly ever take the time to read that fine print in general. So they miss it when it's on a more personal level and somebody gives them a watered down version of it. Like, it's not even, I'm not even giving you the 12-page document. I put it on one page and it's still frustrating to some people. It's still too much to some people. It's still, I can't do this. I won't sign that. And I think that's absolutely horrible because it shows that, like, it's amazing. Like I say, people will sit up and let a complete stranger, in essence, pimp them for life. Put you on a contract for health insurance, for where you live, for your cars you drive, and this stuff you never finished reading. A friend will give you a one-page document to sign, and some people will say no. They won't take the time to read what's being said, and if they are confused, just like they would have to do if it were a complete stranger, go do the research and figure it out. They won't do that. Instead, they'd rather lose a friend than figure it out. While they actually live under the false pretenses of documents worth thousands of pages for their, if you put up every document people never read their entire life, I guarantee you, they ain't never read none of them things from page to page for their entire life, but they signed them all. But they'll tell a friend who will take the time to explain what they're asking for, to explain what they're trying to protect, to explain what's at risk. And they'll say, no, I don't trust this. There's something wrong, people. I hope this hits a note for everybody that needs to hear it. I hope this helps somebody to stop taking the people you have in your life who are doing work for you as friends and family on discounts and all kind of things for granted. For people who understand enough about the legalities of things to try to protect you and themselves for the future. So that when AI comes into it, or if YouTube ever gets bought out and suddenly your property, your intellectual property, is no longer yours precisely, but has to be fought for because new contracts and new laws have been put in place because y'all were ignoring all those different changes as they were going on over the years because you wasn't reading. You wasn't reading. But when a friend tried to tell you, it might behoove you to read, to just go figure it out, you said no. Don't ask when it comes back and bites you in your ass. That's today's lesson. Take it how you will. Much love to those who got something from it, and let me know if you did in the comments where it counts. Be respectful or never be seen. Thank you so much. Peace, y'all.